Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me. I didn't do my intro properly last time, but my name's Cashel and I attempt to relay some true crime cases for you. The information's not always accurate, I can't always get a sentence out, but here we are. See, I can't even get here we are out. I hope everyone has had a fabulous week. Fun fact, I really didn't want to film this case. I filmed it, was it yesterday or the day before? And my mic was muted, so I'm having to film it again, and I didn't even want to film it when I filmed it 2 days ago, so we're going to see how we get on with this. It might be slightly more colourful language than we're used to. Apologies for last week's video. I was absolutely dying of hay fever and I just felt totally out of it. I feel a little bit better today. I say today, it's a couple of hours later, but I feel better and my voice is slightly better, so we're gonna try our best. As always, if we can like and subscribe, I would massively appreciate it. Let's get on with today's case. So I'm in a totally different outfit and this is from a totally different video, but I just remembered I forgot to put my trigger warnings in. So trigger warnings for this video include domestic violence, controlling behaviour, mention of miscarriage and suicide. If any of those things are something you don't want to deal with at the moment, that's absolutely fine, I'm sure, and I hope I will see you again for another video. Content warning, as always, strong language. Today's case gripped Britain in the mid-90s. It is a tale of lies, obsession and cold-blooded murder, all wrapped in the image of a heartbroken fiancé. This is the twisted case of Tracie Andrews and the senseless, brutal killing of Lee Harvey. Tracie Marguerite Andrews was born on April 9th, 1969, in the West Midlands. Not much is publicly known about her childhood, but what was made clear is that she loved attention from a very early age. By her 20s, she had worked briefly as a model and trained to be a beauty therapist. She worked as a barmaid in the Red Lion, but her dream job was to become a model. When she was 22, she fell pregnant and gave birth to a daughter who she named Carla. The father's name was Andy and the couple had been together around 4 years. However, they split not long after having Carla. Andy said that they had broken up due to Tracie's aggressive and violent temper. Described by some who knew her as attractive and confident, but Tracie also had a much darker reputation. Friends and acquaintances later speak on her volatile temper, possessiveness and tendency to fly off the handle, which is not a good way to be described at all, but this was the woman that Lee Harvey ended up falling for. Lee Raymond Harvey was born on the 20th of September 1971 in Brownhills. Really sorry if that's wrong, but it's a small town. He grew up in a close, supportive family with middle working class values. Is that a thing? No, just working class values, sorry. His mother Maureen would later describe him as a kind and gentle soul, someone who would never start a fight and would always look out for others. From a young age, Lee was polite, cheerful and quietly ambitious. He became a bus driver in his 20s and he absolutely loved his job. Not just for the steady income that it provided, but it was a chance to meet people and it was a chance to meet different people every day. And he just loved that. He loved the social aspect to the job. He was very social, well liked and had the kind of sense of humour that just automatically put people at ease. Lee was a massive family man, so by his early 20s he was looking to settle down. He wanted the kind of life that his parents had built, like a stable, beautiful, loving life. In 1994 he met Tracie in a Birmingham nightclub. She was 25, he was 23, I believe, and they ended up spending the night together. They were said to have an instant connection, like an instant click, and after that night their relationship moved super quick. Lee also had a daughter from a previous relationship named Danielle. Within 4 months the couple had actually moved in together, which is insane. I would love to know what the reaction of my friends and family would be if I said I was moving in with a guy after 4 months, because you don't really know someone that well after 4 months, or do you? I don't know. I don't think you do. 4 months is not a long time at all, and it wasn't a good idea because their relationship was anything but stable. It was passionate, but it was also explosive and it was not stable. Friends described frequent rows between the pair of them, which often had quite a bit of emotional manipulation in, and occasionally physical altercations. The arguments were often based on the same thing. Tracie didn't like the fact that Lee had a positive relationship with Danielle, his daughter's mum. She didn't like the fact that they didn't hate each other. And vice versa, Lee wasn't a massive fan of the relationship that Tracie had with Andy, so this was just a constant conflict for the pair of them, more so on Tracie's side. Lee's family also didn't like Tracie, which just adds a massive spanner into the works. He's obviously a massive family man, but they said she was arrogant, self-obsessed and controlling. Relationships where your family don't like your partner, I just don't see how they ever work. Police were actually called to the couple's flat several times. So one evening, Tracie's going out with her girlfriends, and she says to Lee, I don't want to see you tonight, because I believe he was planning on going out as well. So he just said, okay, that's fine, I'm not planning to like follow you or anything. However, they do end up in the same nightclub. It's not planned. Obviously, I don't think you can trap people in 94. They just happened to be in the same nightclub. And Tracie lost her fucking mind. She lost her shit. So in this club, obviously, it's in public. There's people around, there's bouncers around, there's your friends and family or whatever around. And she goes up to him, she starts screaming, she punches him, she slaps him. I think she even bites him. So if this is what's going on in public in front of everyone, what the hell is going on behind closed doors? Somehow Lee proposes to Tracie, not long after the nightclub incident. I don't know. Lee thinks that this would make the relationship more stable. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. Just anyone who's out there who's got a shitty relationship and thinks either getting married or having children to solve it is going to solve it. It won't solve it. It's not going to. But Tracie is over the moon. She's so happy about this. And she obviously says yes. Tracie, of course, because she loves attention, loves the spotlight, wants to announce the engagement at an upcoming family barbecue. When they get to the barbecue, Lee's sister's there and she announces that she's engaged, and Tracie once again loses her tiny fucking mind. In front of everyone, she accused the whole family of plotting against her. She's screaming, crying, kicking off. It's just, what a way to make the family like you, right? I don't know exactly when this is, but Tracie ends up falling pregnant and they want to really put in the effort to make the relationship a lot more stable now. However, Tracie falls down the stairs and then suffers a miscarriage. But she doesn't, because she actually goes for an abortion. And she doesn't tell Lee about this. So this is all behind Lee's back. And that really confuses me. That confuses me probably the most out of most things. That doesn't make sense. That confuses me a lot because, well, it just does. It doesn't make any sense, does it? I don't know. But in 1996, they're still engaged. Lee does express to some friends that he is having some doubts, but they remain together. On Sunday, December 1st, Lee and Tracie spend the day arguing. That night, they get into Lee's car and decide to go to the Millbrook pub in Bromsgrove, which is about 10 minutes away from where they live. They decide to go there for dinner and some drinks. And they leave the pub around 9:45 p.m. At 10:45 p.m, so an hour after they've left for this 10-minute journey, a couple in the cottage hear screaming. So they go outside and they see a woman holding up a man and they are covered in blood. So they immediately go back in and call the police. Police arrive on scene and unfortunately Lee was pronounced dead at the scene. So Tracie describes what's happened to the police who have arrived on scene, and she says that they left the pub, but there was someone tailgating them, they're flashing, they're beeping, they're just driving like a complete dick right up their arse. Lee was getting very frustrated, so he pulls over the car and gets out. The driver of the other car also gets out. They have a bit of an argument and then they both decide to go back to their cars. So Lee's walking back to his car, the other driver's walking back to their car, and the passenger of the other car gets out and starts running at Lee and starts attacking him, starts stabbing him. So Tracie then gets out of the car, tries to get this person off Lee. She gets punched in the face, called a slag, and then the passenger gets back in the car and they drive off, leaving them there. Lee has been stabbed in the chest, neck and back. Tracie had some injuries to herself. She had like a black eye, swollen lips, some scratches, mainly like artificial kinds of wounds. Nothing obviously compared to what poor Lee endured. She was, however, taken to the hospital for her injuries just to be assessed and checked over, and it was noted that while she was there, she was going to the bathroom a lot, like more than the normal person would be going to the bathroom. Around 1 a.m, once everyone's finished checking her over, she's taken to the police station and questioned again as to what happened. She gives a vivid description of the driver of the car and says it's a older man with dark, starey eyes, a black jacket, buck teeth, and a Ford Sierra in a dark colour. That was her description. Police immediately twigged that something's not quite right, because when they first arrived, she couldn't really remember any description of the person, and now she's got a full-blown description. So they're like, strange. She also has blood splatter on her clothes, which they say, how did that get there? And she says, oh, it's when I was like embracing Lee, it's when I was hugging Lee. That's not how blood splatter works. Like, at all. So the crime scene was shockingly violent, but the most telling things were that there was no sign of a struggle, there was no sign of any other car, there was no witnesses, there was no sign of a third party whatsoever. At the moment, she's still playing the grieving fiancé, and police ask her to do an interview with press that will obviously be broadcast. She initially says no, but of course, remember, she loves attention, so she changes her mind on this and thinks this is really how I can play into this. It's bizarre. This is just days after Lee's death, and she's begging this driver to come forward. She does actually start speaking directly to the driver. She's very confident and calm. It's just all quite strange. It seems quite rehearsed. She does keep addressing the driver, and she says, look, you're not in trouble. It's just the passenger. If you come forward and help us find them, you're not in trouble, which obviously is not true. And the police were kind of like, no, we didn't say that, don't say that. The journalist also found it quite unsettling, because normally in these kind of interviews they have to press for questions, they have to question people, and they didn't with Tracie. She wouldn't shut up. So here is that clip.
Like playing cat and mouse with each other for a while, when they overtook us. I was shouting at Lee to, slow down, just ignore them, stop the comedy. I don't know if a lot of men are like it and a lot of women are like it, but when you get behind the wheel of a car, sometimes you change personality. It was just the way he looked, his eyes he had starey eyes. It just didn't seem normal. I saw the man hit Lee. I don't know what with, I didn't see anything. I just tried to stop the bleeding, really, and comfort him as much as I could. Whoever this person is that was with you, you obviously know him, but he's ruined my life. Please, just tell us who he is, because you won't get in any trouble at all.
One journalist in the audience says the timeline doesn't add up, which it doesn't. And Tracie obviously hadn't rehearsed an answer to this, because she goes totally silent and doesn't say another word until police end the interview, and it's very awkward. The British public were absolutely captivated by this story, and the media dubbed the assailant the road rage killer. But of course, police, forensics, and now the public, thanks to that interview, were not buying anything Tracie was saying. Lee's family were also suspicious of Tracie's story, because he was not a violent man. He was not the type of man to pull over the car and get out and try and start an argument, so they didn't buy it. 4th of December, Tracie was actually rushed to hospital. She had tried to take her own life by overdose. She'd left a note saying she simply could not live without Lee. Thankfully, she was found in time, and she was rushed to the hospital to get her stomach pumped. So investigators are still looking into Tracie's story, but mainly they're looking at Tracie, and the holes are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger at this point. So there's no forensic evidence to support exactly what she's saying. There's no tyre marks from any other car, no evidence of any third party. There's no blood trail leading away. There's no mysterious car. And probably the smoking gun, the murder weapon, was found at the hospital, because Tracie kept going to the toilet. She had it in her boot. So they found her boot as well, and there's blood on the inside of her boot. Also, in Lee's hand, there was 80 strands of Tracie's hair. So it's more than likely that the marks on Tracie's face were Lee trying to defend himself, and he ended up ripping some of her hair out. Of course, as well, there was the blood splatter on Tracie's clothes. You do not get blood splatter on you from embracing someone who's bleeding. That's just not how it works. 2 witnesses had also come forward. One that was driving down that road at night, who said they saw Lee and Tracie arguing. The way that Lee was driving, it looked like they were arguing whilst they were in the car. They also said that they saw no other cars on the road. And also from someone who lived in a house nearby who said they could hear a man and a woman arguing. That was it. They couldn't hear any other voices. On the 7th of December, Tracie was arrested and charged with Lee's murder. However, she was put on bail, so she was allowed to go home. The media had a full-blown party with this information. Paparazzi were animals, as they are anyway. They were disgusting, and they were following Tracie around, and of course she loves attention, so she was absolutely loving this. She was going out, she was looking to go anywhere as an excuse to get photographed. She was going out fucking clubbing, for God's sakes, like she hadn't just been arrested for murder. What? Friends and family as well eventually revealed the true nature of Lee and Tracie's relationship, and said that Lee had confided in them just a few weeks prior, saying that he was scared of Tracie. Lee had not died from a random act of violence. Lee had died from a premeditated and personal attack. Tracie had found a penknife in the glove box of Lee's car. She had then stabbed him 42 times and attempted to stage the scene to make it look like there'd been a road rage killer. Tracie went on trial in July 1997. The prosecution painted her as manipulative, violent, and willing to go above and beyond to cover up her crime. The press coverage was absolutely relentless. She was not only being accused of murder, but of attempting to gaslight the entire nation. She, however, maintained her innocence for months. July 22nd, 1997, Tracie was found guilty of murder. She was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 14 years. In 1999, Tracie finally admitted that she had made the road rage killer up, and it was her. Tracie did end up serving 14 years in prison. While she was in prison, she received cosmetic surgery that was done on the NHS, which I think is fucking disgusting. I don't know exactly what she had done, but obviously it's classed as cosmetic surgery. It wasn't necessary surgery, so that's just vile. She also changed her name to Tia Carter in an attempt to escape the notoriety surrounding her case. But obviously we know that name, so don't know how well that does. In 2011, she was released from prison, so she is now a free woman. Of course, this decision to release her faced a lot of criticism, but especially from Lee's family, and especially his mum, Maureen. Maureen Harvey has spent years advocating for victims and their families' rights, fighting against early release for violent offenders. She never got to see her son grow old, get married, build a proper family. And she never will, thanks to Tracie. She believed that Tracie never showed really any remorse for what she'd done. And I believe she actually has wrote a book about it, so I will leave some links below. This case remains one of the biggest and most chilling examples about manipulation and calculated deceit in order to gain public sympathy. She weaponised public sympathy and played the grieving victim on national television. And poor Lee Harvey's life was cut short by someone who claimed to have loved him. And that is the end of today's case. I told you it was horrible, I'm sorry. Yeah, I will leave all my links down below, like I said. Oh my goodness, I need a positive thought now. I don't know. I feel like my positive thoughts at the moment have been really shit. I have a good positive thought. This is going to be really old by the time this comes out, and I'm gutted, but I got a Labubu, which is so not going to be popular by the time this video comes out, but I got a Labubu. Look how cute it looks in my bag. It's so fucking cute. It's so cute. Obviously I had to get the Halloween pumpkin one. I ended up getting it off Vinted, but it's so stinking cute. I love the little pumpkin, and it's so soft. I love it. I love it. I'm not going to go wild and order loads of fucking blind boxes though, because I'm trying to be an adult. But I had to get one because rude not to, really. So until next week, make good choices. Listen to your family and friends when they have an off feeling about someone, because sometimes they're right. Don't waste money on crap like I do. Look after everyone. Keep yourself safe. Don't get murdered. I'll see you next week. Love you. Bye. Who the hell do you think I am? You're a dweeb.
You dweeb.
Today's case is a case written in the early 90s. No, it didn't. It's the mid 90s. The twisting, Jesus, emotional no, wait, hold on. To the hospital for her injuries No. Also suspicious.